All right, so today we're diving into something pretty fascinating, chemoinformatics in drug discovery.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It is. It
It's
is.
essentially it's using the power of computers to really speed up the process of making new medicines.
Yeah, kind of like a supercharged shortcut, making everything faster and cheaper and hopefully more effective, right?
Exactly. And we have such an amazing set of sources here. Everything from these huge biological data sets to like the newest research papers. It's going to be quite a deep dive.
It is. And the mission here is to really understand how this field,
Mm,
is changing how we find these new therapies
yeah.
without getting, too lost in the weeds.
Right, right. Avoid the jargon overload,
Exactly.
but still really see the impact.
Yeah. So where does this kind of computational approach first come into play in this whole process?
Well, it all starts with target identification and validation. And what's really cool is how chemoinformatics helps us analyze just mountains of biological information, like the entire human genome, all the proteins that are made, the RNA instructions. It's like sifting through this incredible complexity to find the one tiny thing that's going wrong in a disease.
So it's like finding the one misfiring part in a giant machine.
Precisely. Yeah. It's like finding that needle in the haystack.
So it helps us figure out what to aim for in the first place. But how do we know if we can actually aim for it effectively?
That's where something called druggability assessment comes in.
Okay.
And so computers can analyze the structure of these potential target proteins and tell us, is this a good target? Can a drug molecule actually bind to this and do what it's supposed to do?
So is there like a pocket or a handle or something that a drug can actually grab onto?
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about the shape and the properties of that protein surface.
So chemoinformatics helps answer that question really early on.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to waste time on a target that you can't hit.
Right. Okay. So we've found our target. Now, how do we find a drug that actually hits that target?
Okay, so this is where things get really exciting because this is where lead discovery enters the picture, and specifically something called virtual screening.
Virtual screening.
Yeah, so instead of testing millions or even billions of compounds in a lab physically,
Wow.
scientists can use computers to simulate how those compounds would interact with the target.
It's like a massive digital search party.
Exactly. It's like having a superpowered robot chemist.
Right. It just narrows down the possibilities so much faster.
It does, because think about it. The odds of finding the right drug by just randomly testing things in a lab are astronomical.
Yeah, you'd be there forever.
Right. But with virtual screening, it's like flipping a switch and suddenly you have a handful of promising candidates.
That sounds so much more efficient.
It is. It's a game changer.
So we get these initial hits, these promising candidates. What happens next?
Well, those initial hits are rarely perfect, right? They might not be potent enough, or they might have side effects because they bind to other things in the body.
Right.
So the next step is lead optimization. And this is where chemoinformatics comes in again to guide us in fine-tuning those molecules, making them stronger, more selective, and safer.
So you're like tweaking the shape of the molecule
Exactly.
to make it fit better.
Yeah, there are these amazing techniques where you can predict how changing like one atom in a molecule will affect its binding strength or its solubility.
Wow, it's incredible.
It's like molecular sculpting.
So I understand the computers can even be used to design entirely new drugs from scratch. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's called de novo design.
De novo.
Yeah, and it's really cutting edge stuff.
Okay.
Scientists can essentially build new molecules atom by atom on a computer and predict how they'll bind to the target.
So it's not just finding existing molecules, it's like inventing new ones.
Exactly. It's like molecular Lego.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But a drug has to actually work safely in the body, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's a critical point.
Yeah.
And this is where AD-MET prediction comes in.
AD-MET, what does that stand for?
It stands for absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, and toxicity.
Oh, wow. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of big words, but basically it's all about how the drug behaves in the body.
Right. Will it get to where it needs to go?
Exactly. Will it be absorbed? Will it be distributed to the right tissues? Will it be broken down and eliminated safely? Will it cause any harm?
So it's like a virtual safety check before you even start testing in animals or humans.
Precisely. It's like a simulation of the human body.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it saves so much time and resources because you can weed out those problematic candidates early on.
Right before you invest, years and millions of dollars into something that's just not going to work.
Exactly.
Sounds like chemoinformatics has applications beyond just finding that core drug molecule too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's branching out in all sorts of directions.
Like what?
Well, for instance, it can predict drug solubility, which is really important for how pills and injections are formulated.
Okay.
It can even help design better drug delivery systems, like tiny nanoparticles that carry the drug to specific tissues.
Wow, so it's not just the drug itself, it's how you deliver it to the right place.
Exactly. It's all connected.
That's amazing.
Huh.
And what about clinical trials?
Yeah, so chemoinformatics is becoming increasingly important in clinical trials as well, particularly for identifying biomarkers.
Biomarkers.
Yeah, so these are molecules that can predict how a patient will respond to a drug.
Oh, okay.
So it's getting us closer to personalized medicine, where treatments are tailored to an individual's genetic makeup.
Wow. So you can actually predict if a drug will work for someone based on their genes.
That's the goal. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a really exciting area of research.
So much potential.
Mm.
Can you give us a couple of real-world examples of where this has all been successful?
Sure. So one of the classic examples is the discovery of HIV protease inhibitors. So these are drugs that block a key enzyme that the virus needs to replicate.
Right.
And they were designed using structure-based drug design, which is heavily reliant on chemoinformatics.
So they basically figured out the shape of the enzyme and then designed a molecule that would fit into it like a lock and key.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a major breakthrough in HIV treatment.
And I know that cancer drug development has also benefited tremendously from these computational methods, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The development of many kinase inhibitors, which are now widely used to treat various cancers, relied heavily on chemoinformatics.
Okay.
And then another really important area is designing drugs that are highly selective. So they only target the protein they're supposed to and not other similar proteins.
So that helps to minimize side effects.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about reducing those off-target effects.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what are some of the current challenges and what's on the horizon for chemoinformatics?
Well, like any field, there are always challenges, right?
Right.
One of the big ones is data integration. We have all this biological data coming from different sources, and it's not always easy to put it all together in a meaningful way.
Right. It's like trying to solve a giant jigsaw puzzle with pieces from different puzzles.
Exactly. And then there's always the challenge of improving the accuracy of our predictions.
Right. Our models are only as good as the data we feed them.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the sheer volume of data that we're dealing with.
It's a data deluge.
It is. It's a fire hose of information.
Right. And then finally, there's the challenge of translating these computational successes into actual clinical treatments. Right. It's one thing to design a drug on a computer. It's another thing to actually get it into patients and have it work.
Exactly. It's a long and complex process.
So what about the future? What's on the horizon for chemoinformatics?
Well, the future is incredibly exciting.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence and deep learning are going to have an even bigger impact in the coming years.
AI.
Yeah, AI is going to revolutionize how we analyze and interpret data.
Right, because it can find patterns that we might not even be able to see.
Exactly. And then another big trend is going to be the integration of multiple layers of biological data.
So like combining genomics and proteomics and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. Having that more complete picture of the biological system is going to be key.
So it's like having a 3D map of the cell instead of just a flat blueprint.
Exactly. And then, of course, personalized medicine is going to continue to be a major focus.
Right, tailoring treatments to the individual.
Exactly. And then another exciting area is drug repurposing.
Okay.
So using chemoinformatics to find new uses for existing drugs.
So like finding a drug that was originally developed for one disease and seeing if it can be used to treat another disease.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a much faster and cheaper way to develop new therapies.
That's amazing. And what about data sharing?
Oh, data sharing is absolutely crucial.
Okay.
The more data we share, the better our models will be.
Right, it's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. Yeah, collaboration is key.
So the big picture is that chemoinformatics is making drug discovery much more intelligent and efficient, leading to better medicines faster.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift towards a more rational and targeted approach.
And it makes you wonder, how will this increasing power of computational prediction reshape not just drug discovery, but any scientific field that deals with complex data and interactions?
It's a really thought-provoking question.
It is. It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for the deep dive today.
My pleasure. It's been a great conversation.
It has.